We spend a lot of time looking at the top of the table, Sam, but it doesn't really feel right to do that this round. So what is your Parkins pick / cause for concern?
Well, I did notice that someone did message a few weeks ago when we were discussing the foot of the table and ridiculed our shout that it was possibly 3 from 4.
Lambasted.
I'm not bowing down to that chap's superior knowledge, but we are going to talk, and I'm going to pick out, and it is going to be the cause for concern, the bottom of the table. How many now are engulfed in this relegation battle?
Your language is very floral today, Sam. I love it. Engulfed in a relegation battle. That's tremendous. So yeah, and I never see it as that you're backtracking. We call it as we feel it at the time, and not even at that point, Sam. But for the longest time, I was like, look, there's 4 teams at the bottom there, and they're all worse than the teams that are directly above them. And I don't know about you, but I don't particularly feel that way anymore. Based on this, Sam, we'll get your take in a minute. We'll work from the bottom of the table up. Let me give you some data here. I've gone back to October the 29th because it kind of suits my narrative with certain results. But that's 106 days and about sort of 16, 17 games. So it's basically the middle third of the season I'm about to tell you about. Okay. Rotherham. Sorry, Rotherham fans, hopeless, 0.55 points per game. So abject bottom of the table form. Stoke next, 0.76. So clear relegation form under the 1 point per game. Birmingham, 0.88 relegation form as well. And obviously a manager coming and going there. Could say the same about Stoke, to be fair. Millwall, 0.94, also under the 1 point per game. Blackburn just above it, 1.06, excuse me. And then Huddersfield, 1 point per game. So we kind of had Darren Moore there. But the interesting ones, this is the bottom 8 here. QPR, 1.24 points per game. That is survival form and some over 16 games. And Sheffield Wednesday, 1.27 points per game. So regardless of whether you think we're backtracking, the data here has got 2 of the teams in the bottom 3 trending far, far better than a bunch of the teams above it. Let me bring the table up for you, Sam, and you can kind of start maybe look at the ones above the line. Apologies, Rotherham fans, but unless there's a big trend, we're going to assume that gap's now getting too big. But Sam, pick that apart and I'll come back in a minute.
Yeah, I suppose to just continue my backtracking, you know, when you make these statements and when you have this previous discussion, we didn't envisage Stoke City losing 4 games on the bounce. I think Stoke have been that type of team and that type of squad that have been able to churn out the odd result despite all the ongoing issues at the club. So this has taken me a little bit by surprise. I would probably say the 5-game kind of malaise without a win at Millwall as well. I was there, 3 games ago and thought for long periods they were pretty good against Preston North End. So that's another surprising element to throw into the mix as well. And I suppose QPR 8 points from 4 games, I think it is. That's the reason that gap is tightening. And of course, Sheffield Wednesday, I think despite some abject defeats and some heavy defeats, they're attacking games. And we know they're liable to win football matches under Danny Rowe, who still seems to have all the support of everyone at Hillsborough. So all of a sudden, it looks really fascinating. Birmingham have obviously tailed off as well. Last couple of games, I think goal scoring is clearly an issue there. I did note it down. I don't know if I've got it in front of me now, which is annoying, but the amount of shots they've had in the last 3 fixtures is absolutely staggering. I think it was 57 or somewhere around there. Only around 15 on target, if memory serves me right. So they're not maybe creating amazing chances, but I think that's where they're faltering. Blackburn, massive victory for them. Quite strange, I would say, the dynamic in that you had a team that wowed on occasion, even what was it, 2 weeks ago, I sat on the sofa at my sister's babysitting her kids and watched the Wrexham game in the FA Cup. And, watching Blackburn is great fun at times. But to go with John Eustace, who clearly did some great work at Birmingham, but is still in the infancy of his career, John's strengths to this point has been setting up a team defensively.
Hard to beat, yeah.
Being hard to beat. So it's a very interesting dynamic there. And to see a load of the comments after the weekend that it was a bit more kind of no nonsense, not taking the opportunity to play out on all occasions, utilising the strength and the physical power of Gallagher and the running power of Dolan and Sammy Smolix. Really interesting, but it'd be hard to envisage them falling into trouble again. But maybe I said that about Steven Schumacher a month or two ago. So yeah, we've got a race on, that's for sure. And Huddersfield, not even spoken about them. 7 goals in 2 games, and all of a sudden, a bit like Sheffield Wednesday, attacking games and going to win. For so long this season, they've been 11 men behind the ball, trying to get out of away games with a point, and all of a sudden they look to be a really fun watch as well. So yeah, all those teams I've mentioned, maybe Blackburn apart, yeah, they could be in the battle to the bitter end.
So we're looking at these trends then, Sam, and I guess if you look at the points differential as well, although QPR are now only 2 off Huddersfield, but more pertinently, they're 3 off the next 2 teams above them. So you could essentially say, a win in the next game, which just happens to be against Stoke as well, could take them out of the bottom 3 for the first time in a long time. How important is it that bottom 3, it feels like it hasn't changed for absolutely months, which is probably why we formed the opinion that we did. And of the trends that are happening, which is basically everybody, the sort of 4 or 5 above the bottom 3 down and the 2 in the bottom 3 up, which do you foresee being the most likely to continue going in the direction they are at the moment?
All right, it's a really good question. Right now, as we sit here, it would probably be Stoke. I didn't mention the home record, which really surprised me, doing a little bit of prep over the weekend. 8 without a win at home before the game against QPR, and then I think it's Coventry. But obviously a colossal match to kickstart that in the week against Rangers. 25th of October, their last victory at home in front of their own supporters. 22nd best home record. I mean, all these things have just kind of crept up on me, and still a misfiring attack. I always felt that Steven Schumacher's strength would be to get those attacking players going. Well, he's had a high profile in that part of the country falling out with Ryan May, I believe. He's not at the moment training with the squad, and he just can't get them going, those front players. So he's starting to think, how many of these signings in the summer, and there was plenty, wasn't there, are duds. It can't be down to the managers, can it? It's got to be down to the recruitment, and we're 2/3 through the season now, and still we're waiting for some of these front players, these offensive creative sparks to come to the boil. So right now they'd be the ones I'd be most worried about, but of course we don't know what's going on at Huddersfield in terms of the manager.
Is there any chance that they give John Worthington the job?
If this wrangles on maybe for a week or 2 more and he keeps to getting improved performances, then why not? Why not, I would say, because that seems to be he lacks the experience, but it seems to be
there'll only be 13 games left, Sam, by the end of this week.
Yeah, and it seems to be the tone that the owner's been talking in, improving the attacking output, and they've certainly had that in the last 2 games. I don't know. I think I think Michael Duff again has been an excellent manager in the early part of his career. Brilliant, Cheltenham. Really enjoyed watching them, but I think this is a gamble both for him and for the club. So, I wouldn't be too sure that this one's going to get over the line. There seems to be the reports are that there's a bit of a discrepancy over whether he's going to move to the area or what have you. And we've only, what did you say?
Well, it'd be 13 at the end of this week if we tick off
13
another
games
2,
to go. It's it's a bit of a risk, isn't it, to move up and to lay down foundations in a completely different part of the country if the job security is clearly not very evident, and it's not at Huddersfield right now.
Can you see, just to round this out, can you see the trends up at QPR and Sheffield Wednesday? I must admit, I watched the Wednesday Birmingham game, and you've hit the nail on the head. It was a bit hapless from Birmingham. They could well have been comfortably in front by the time they conceded the first goal, and even by the end of the first half. But second half, I thought Wednesday gave it really good crack. And QPR, I know I've been joking all week saying, well, they're not in promotion form because 2 points per game this season might not actually even get you automatic promotion form. But 8 points in 4 games is sensational in the bottom 3, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just think they needed to improve the squad, and I think they've done that. Obviously, Anderson and Frey combined for the goal, the second goal, but Hodge in midfield and
Hayden.
Isaac, Hayden. That's bolstered it, and I just think defensively they can get it right with Cook leading them, Jake Clark sort of. There's a nice balance there. Just to improve the squad, I think was vital, and the manager seems to have just rediscovered something in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So, I think they'll continue, and I think Sheffield Wednesday will continue to probably be a little bit inconsistent. But if they can keep churning out, 1 winning 2, 1 winning 3, the odd point, they'll have a good chance of catching them. And like I said, they seem to have the support at the moment. They've got a bit of momentum despite some indifferent heavy defeats. They seem to have a bit of momentum about them, which is rare considering the results aren't particularly consistent.
But you're totally right, Sam. Down at the bottom there, where a point per game seems to be the gold standard, it's one win every 3 games, isn't it? And if you're inconsistent but you can win, that's actually better than draw, lose, draw, lose. Do you know what I mean?
Go on, mate. You're the numbers man. How many gets you into a position for survival this season? Because I think 45 points was enough last year. And the previous season, someone went down, I think, on 37. So 38 points would have been enough. But we're talking what?
Remember, there was big points deductions that season as well, which does funny things to the total. I think
we're talking 10 more than that, maybe.
I mean, if you look at it, Stoke, if Stoke were to lose the next game to QPR, they'd be at the point per game. So they're projecting 46. Huddersfield are there or about. So as much as it's boring, the number that you're suggesting, either 1 point per game with 46 or just shy of it, which means if you are Sheffield Wednesday, you do still need to crack out sort of 20 points from your last 15 games. And, that is 6 or 7, 7 wins will definitely do it in 20 games, would be really good form. But I think there or about. But Sam, surely all that bunch of teams, 1 or 2 of them at least, I'm talking about the teams just above the bottom 3, are going to move away, aren't they? This will be the maximum depth of their trough, and they'll have a run. So I think you're probably right. It will be around that normal 45 to survive 46. And I suppose it would be a bit unlucky for the likes of QPR and Sheffield Wednesday if it did go higher than that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some just amazing games in the next few weeks. I just noted Millwall's fixtures. They play Ipswich and Southampton, and sandwiched in between a game against Sheffield Wednesday. So, you can't.
Well, that'll keep the total down, won't it?
I think they'll give Ipswich a difficult game, but I'd still just fancy Ipswich to maybe be slightly too strong. Southampton, I could only see that going one way. So the Sheffield Wednesday game all of a sudden could be massive for Joe Edmonds and everyone at Millwall at the weekend. So there's going to be some twists and turns. I think one team will quite likely drop like a stone from that group of teams we've been talking about, and then it'll be whether they can show the character at the tail end of the season to just get the points that they require. So it could go down to the wire.
And as I always say, Sam, there is no survival race, no relegation race, if the teams that are in the bottom three don't put points on the board. Otherwise, everything stays as it is. So even if someone does drop like a stone, it's still incumbent on QPR and Sheffield Wednesday to keep up at the rate they have been for the past 16 games, according to my numbers. There we go. Get involved in the comments. We'll clip this one out and pop it up as a separate video. And you can tell us if it was looking like 3 from 4 6 games ago, 8 games ago, what is it looking like now? Get your views in.